You know you're an empath, right? So one night I'm at a concert with a friend and we're standing outside. Suddenly I said something and she looks at me, dead stop, straight in the eye and says, you know you're an empath, right? And this struck me. This is a moment that radically altered my life. So let me back up a little bit. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, to me, the word empath was synonymous with psychic, with someone who's a fraud, clairvoyance and telepathy and all those kinds of things. For somebody to tell me that I'm an empath was kind of a shocking thing, but I trusted this person. They knew a lot about a lot of things and I decided to go down this rabbit hole. And because it's not the 60s, it's not the 70s or 80s anymore, it's the 2000s and teens at the time, I have the internet. I have access to a whole world of information that I never had access to before. Psychology, neurology, personality tests, all these kinds of things. And so I started down that rabbit hole. And what I discovered actually explained huge issues I'd had in my life, huge disconnects and problems, and led me down the road of solutions and healing and turning what I thought was a brokenness, a problem in my person, into a power that I use for good and that helps me make a better impact in the world. So let's talk about what empathy is. Empathy itself is a natural human trait. We actually have neurons in the brain called mirror neurons that light up when we see an emotion on someone else's face. This allows us to understand what that emotion is, and we understand what that emotion is because we've had that emotion. So somebody's happy, sad, angry, frustrated, disgusted, we read those emotions and we understand them because to a small degree, we feel them in our own brains. If you like this video so far, click like and subscribe down below. It really helps me out. Let's get back to it. Empathy goes even deeper in that when you begin to connect with somebody, you're having that really good conversation, your body language will begin to mirror each other. It's called matching and mirroring. Your heart rates will synchronize, your breathing rates will synchronize. And in fact, even your brainwave frequencies will synchronize. This level of synchronization creates a feeling of deep connection we have with somebody. And that actually is what we call empathy. So when the ability to feel what someone else is feeling, to understand what they're feeling as if you were feeling it yourself, that's empathy, which is a little different than sympathy, but which is more like, I understand your situation and I feel bad for you, but you don't actually feel bad yourself. So imagine you're watching a movie and you see a bad situation and you're like, oh, that sucks for them. That's a really terrible thing. That's sympathy. But if you're watching that movie and these really bad things are happening and you get emotional, you get teary-eyed, you get, your heart starts to race, that's empathy. You're actually feeling the things they're feeling. So that's the difference between sympathy and empathy. And this is all grounded in science. This is a real thing. So what makes an empath different than a regular person? Well, essentially what it means to be an empath is that you are more attuned to these parts of your humanity than the average person. And to give you an example of that, this is something I didn't understand until I began to learn about what it meant to be an empath. And the first time I identified it was really groundbreaking for me. And it explained so many other things in my life leading up to this. I'm arriving at work. I work in a bar at this point in my life. And when you walk in the back door, you have literally a 50-yard wide hallish type area walking towards the bar. And when I walk in, most of the lights are off. There's some lights on in the middle over the bar. Outside, it's a blue sky. I've been riding my motorcycle to work. I had had a great morning. My whole day was going great. I was in the best mood. And I walk in, get a few steps in, and suddenly I just feel my mood completely shift. And it's not this, oh, I don't want to be at work mood. It's like this existential, like life is really bad mood. And I don't know why. And then as I approach, I see sitting at the bar by themselves with their back to me, my manager. As I get closer, I can see by their posture that they're slumped and they're hunched and they have this kind of, broken sort of body language. You can see in their face and that they've been crying and their eyes. And I realized that my change of emotion was because that's what their emotion was. That's what it means to be an empath. is you pick up on other people's emotions. You can be so sensitive to it that you pick up on the emotions of other people without even realizing that you are, or even that there's someone in the room having an emotion. Because when I walked in the building, my first thought was I was the first one there. I was alone. That was the moment when I realized really what it meant to be an empath. You don't know, but maybe somebody 2 tables away is having a breakup. Their whole world is shifting, and suddenly your mood shifts, and you don't know why. This can be both good and bad. There can be times when you pick up on the energy of a room and everybody's really excited and you're like, oh yeah, okay, now I feel great. This is something I experienced a lot as a bartender. People say the energy's off. Picking up on something, a collective emotion is happening, and it's going to affect the behavior of people in the room for that night. So if you imagine each individual person in a room and a whole bunch of people in this room, the 2 people talking to each other, having a conversation, they're empathizing with each other. That's normal empathy. Separate from them, standing next to them, having a different conversation, they don't even know each other, are having their empathy, their empathetic moment. The energy from those 2 groups, because they're so close to each other, is going to impact each other. Human beings do this naturally. And this kind of behavior can begin to kind of radiate out into a room. If you can imagine, you got a big pond of water and all of these, you drop stones and all that, and the ripples go all out, and as the ripples kind of intersect, it create different wave patterns and stuff. That's what I'm talking about with like energy moving through a room. And people who have really intense energy, profound, authentic emotions actually give off much more intense, huge amounts more electromagnetic energy coming out of their brains when they're having an authentic emotion of their own. Happiness, sadness, joy, anger, it doesn't matter. And when it's an authentic and it's in the moment, it's magnitudes more intense. All these things kind of ripple through a room, and eventually they will kind of begin to settle into one thing. And this is something that happens anytime you have large group settings, churches, concerts, festivals. This is one of the reasons people love festivals. And when you get a bunch of people together and most of them in the room are set on this having a good time, they're already approaching with this energy of I'm gonna have fun, and they feed off each other, and it raises the energy level of everything in the room. It raises the mood of everybody in the room, feed back and forth. And you see this especially with really good DJs and really good jam bands, is they feed back and forth off of the audience. When they can adjust their energy to meet the audience, and then eventually they can lead the audience. And this is all empathy. This is all the same biological, neurological function going on. As someone who's an empath, what happens is you begin to tune into that unconsciously. And so you feel these things about things, but you can't put it into words and you don't know why. Very often you take on someone else's emotions, like I did in the case of my manager, without understanding that it wasn't my emotion. This is the next part of being an empath. So going back to my experience with my manager, up until this point in my life, my mood would completely shift for no reason I could understand. And I had no control over that until this incident with my manager. I began to realize, and I began to pay more attention to the people around me. So when I notice a shift in my mood, then I look around and I say, okay, where's this coming from? And I can begin to identify sources. I can say, okay, yeah, my manager's over here feeling bad, and this group of people over here are about to have a fight, and these people over here are celebrating something and they're having a great time. And I began to kind of key into all these different things that gives me a baseline. And I can say, okay, which one of these do I want to be a part of, like emotionally, and which ones don't I? First, you need to learn to separate yourself from the emotions and energy that you're feeling from other people. You can learn to turn it on, and you can learn to be empathetic to people who really need it, while keeping yourself safe emotionally. And you can learn to be that band or that DJ up on stage and lead it, being able to set the mood, set the energy for the place. It's a very powerful thing to be an empath. So those are 2 ways that you can begin to go down this path. We all are using the same equipment. It's really a matter of how much you want to tune into it. Unfortunately, men very often are discouraged from feeling or expressing any of their emotions, which then leads to their inability to be empathetic, because they basically, it's like an atrophied limb. They can develop it. Men, I'm telling you, you can develop it. You have emotions. Begin to learn about your own emotions, and that will help you understand other people better and develop empathy. For the people who are highly empathetic, people we call empaths, by the time you get to be an adult, if you don't understand what's going on, and it can be really difficult to live with that way. I think a lot of empaths also fall into the category of highly sensitive people because they feel a lot of things. They pick up on a lot of information. And highly sensitive people tend to be largely, although not exclusively, introverts. So again, you see empaths very often as introverts. And it makes a lot of sense from a lot of different levels. But if you are feeling all these things around you, you might want to take a step back. It might be your natural tendency to not be overwhelmed, and that exhibits itself as introversion. So that's what it's like being an empath. If you've wondered about this for yourself, if any of this describes you, what are some of your strategies for coping with these different emotions and feelings, and what are the difficulties you've had with it? If you're new to this, if I'm describing this to you and you're saying, that's me, you're interested in having some help in coping with this and dealing with this, there's some links down below for one-on-one consultation with me, beginning to understand what this is and how to, one, cope with it, and two, use it, will dramatically improve your life. It radically changed mine. And every time I have a client who's an empath who begins to learn about what that means and how they can use it and how it's been impacting their life, it's like watching the shades open in a dark room, and suddenly they see the world in a whole different way, and they see themselves in a whole different way. And it's very empowering. If you feel like this describes you, do more research, find out more, find resources, talk to people, do whatever you got to do to get there, because the world needs people like you. We exist for a reason, and we heal the world and make the world a better place. And if there's anything this world needs now, it's more empathy. That's my talk on empathy. I hope this has been informative and useful, and hopefully you've gotten some insights from it. My name is Charles. Peace.